This video was made possible by DaVinci Resolve and
Balls of steel.
Duke Nukem isn't dead, he's just being held hostage. The king of crass one-liners and over-the-top machismo has spent over a decade rotting in Gearbox basement, half meme, half memory. And yet, somehow, Duke lives on. In mods, in fan projects, and in the collective consciousness of gamers who remember when shooters were loud, dumb, and unapologetically fun. Duke Nukem Forever might have been a disaster, but the character, the attitude, the legacy, that still rules. And with the boomer shooter revival in full swing, there's never been a better time to set him free. But Gearbox and one Randy Pitchford seem content to leave the once larger-than-life gaming icon to sit on the sidelines and decay. So today, we're talking about why Duke Nukem deserves better.
Hail to the king, baby.
Released on July 1st of 1991 on MS-DOS by Apogee, the original Duke Nukem was a humble side-scrolling platformer. It had 3 episodes with 10 levels each and was a moderate success, which warranted a sequel simply titled Duke Nukem 2. That game was released on December 3rd of 1993, with the sequel expanding upon the original game's premise, noticeably better graphics and sound quality, and had 4 chapters with 8 levels each, and again was a moderate success. But hang on, 1993? That sounds familiar. What other game came out in December of that year? Oh yeah, that's right. With Doom's release later that same month, Duke Nukem 2 was quickly overshadowed by what was quite literally a revolutionary evolution in gaming. Side-scrolling games were suddenly a thing of the past, and shooters in the first person with convincing three-dimensional worlds were in. And if Apogee wanted to stay in the game, they'd need to adapt. In 1996, Apogee, as the newly rebranded 3D Realms, released what would become one of the most influential and endearing icons of 90s shooters, Duke Nukem 3D. It might have not had the most impressive graphics like Quake would have later that same year, but no other game had the pure testosterone-fueled 90s action machismo like Duke 3D had. Not only was it a graphically revolutionary game, with its city-based levels that resembled real-world locations, whereas other games were rather rudimentary, with locations and settings that vaguely resembled what it was supposed to be. It was also a highly interactive game, where you could play a game of pool, see yourself in the mirror,
Damn, I'm looking good.
flip a light switch, make new pathways, tip a stripper,
Shake it, baby.
drink from a water fountain, and
Much better.
yeah, all achieved through 3D Realms' new build engine. But all of this wouldn't be as impressive without the one thing that tied it all together. The man, the myth, the legend, the king himself, Duke Nukem. What was once a rather forgettable character, who could have been easily forgotten with most of the other game characters from the MS-DOS era, was instead given the lightning in a bottle treatment. With 3D Realms' frankly inspired decision to make Duke a Frankenstein's monster parody of 80s and 90s action movie stars, a kind of Terminator meets Dirty Harry amalgamation, and with the talented voice work of John St. John, breathed life into Duke's hallmark wisecracking bravado and one-liners, which gave their game such a distinct identity that it set it apart from every other shooter, to the point where their action hero character became just as much of a satire as it was a loving tribute to the genre it was inspired by. But I don't think even they were ready for the franchise-leading, roided-up, sunglasses-wearing, blonde flat-top having, cigar-chomping protagonist who embodied every over-the-top action cliche in the book icon that they'd created, and the whirlwind that was soon to follow.
This really pisses me off.
With the overnight success of Duke Nukem 3D and the slew of expansions, ports to every current game console on the market, and merchandise that followed in its wake, Duke Nukem was a cultural phenomenon, and people wanted more. So, in 1997, 3D Realms announced a sequel. One so legendary, infamous, and endlessly anticipated that its tumultuous, twisting development not only turned the phrase, "when it's done," into a dreaded joke among gamers, but ultimately dragged Duke's reputation down with it. That game was...
This sucks.
But what went wrong? Well, pretty much everything. The full story could be its own video. Actually, several people have made just that, so let's just hit the highlights. Development began in 1996, originally envisioned as a 2D side-scroller before quickly pivoting to a first-person shooter under the leadership of one George Broussard. Initially built with the Quake engine, Duke Nukem Forever switched to the Quake 2 engine when publicly announced in 1997, setting a planned 1998 release date, a deadline they'd spectacularly miss. By 1998, after already investing $500,000 into the Quake 2 engine and creating around 20 playable levels, 3D Realms realized that the game was falling behind competitors technologically, with the Quake 2 engine becoming less and less impressive with seemingly every passing month. They decided to jump ship again, this time to the Epic's Unreal Engine, which meant starting from scratch yet again. After a media blackout through 1999, early Unreal Engine screenshots showed promise, but internal struggles continued. In 2001, an impressive E3 trailer briefly restored hype, but it was mostly smoke and mirrors, masking the game's chaotic development behind the scenes. Frankly, this is the version of the game they should have stuck with, but unfortunately, Broussard's constant desire to integrate the latest trends in technology led to repeated overhauls, restarts, and delays. Years passed and the game became infamous vaporware. By 2007, a new teaser trailer released briefly reigniting hopes, but financial troubles hit hard in 2009, forcing 3D Realms to lay off staff and halt development. Yet even then, Duke refused to die. A small team continued working independently, forming Triptych Games. They teamed up with Gearbox Software, led by Randy Pitchford, a former 3D Realms developer who had worked on Duke Nukem 3D and whose offices housed Triptych Games. They stepped in, acquired the rights, and pushed Duke Nukem Forever across the finish line, finally releasing it in June of 2011, 14 years after development began. And what was the public reception for a game that came out after a 14-year stint in development hell? It was lukewarm at best. Criticized for feeling outdated and stitched together from various eras of gaming, Duke Nukem Forever became less remembered for its gameplay and more of a cautionary tale of ambition, mismanagement, and endless feature creep, which ultimately led to his now somewhat infamous and downright comical reputation online since then.
Go ahead, Mom. Take away my Xbox. Nothing you can do to unfuck the Thanksgiving turkey.
After the colossal failure of Forever, Duke's fall from grace has since landed him in this strange liminal space within online gaming meme culture. Satirized as a badass, larger-than-life macho icon, yet ironically depicted delivering absurdly mundane or hilariously unmasculine one-liners.
It's time to kick gum and chew ass. and I'm all fucking dick kick him.
This setup and punchline structure has proven perfect for meme culture, typically utilizing Megadeth's rendition of the Duke Nukem theme to build anticipation. Each joke concludes with a hilariously anticlimactic or absurd punchline and played out by the main theme's iconic riff, much like the classic comedic rimshot.
Wow, that's a lot of words. Too bad I'm not reading them. What do you mean you lost the baby? Go find it. My Starbucks coffee was too hot, and my tongue got burned. Somebody peed on the seat. Now I have to wipe the seat off before I sit down. I just had sex with the kitchen sponge. And not the yellow side. Thanks for the context. Now I understand the joke.
The irony here isn't lost on me. Duke Nukem was already designed as a satirical exaggeration of classic action hero tropes, taking this intentionally outrageous, cartoonishly masculine persona and stretching it even further, all while maintaining Duke's unwavering macho confidence has made him a goldmine for internet humor. But this brings up an important question. Is this simply good-natured fun at a character's expense, or is it kicking a character while he's down?
Why won't you leave me alone?
From what I've gathered online, most Duke fans embrace these memes, as they're in on the joke. They see this as keeping a beloved, old-school gaming icon relevant, and perhaps even introducing Duke Nukem to a younger audience who've never even heard of him before. Personally, I think this is a nice sentiment to have. And while the king of crass one-liners and savior of the babes has essentially been on life support online for over a decade, something startling happened in 2022. A surprising new development emerged, potentially signaling a brighter future for Duke Nukem and providing a glimpse into a possible redemption story for gaming's most controversial action hero and one of the most infamous games of all time.
Ready for action.
On May 9th, 2022, an anonymous user leaked two prototype builds of Duke Nukem Forever dated August 21st and October 26th, 2001 on 4chan's V-board. This was the same build from the iconic 2001 E3 trailer, the version the fans always considered the franchise's lost golden age. These leaks included the game's source code, level editor, assets, and binaries. The October build was noticeably more complete, featuring a partially playable campaign and functional multiplayer modes. As you might expect, this set the gaming world buzzing. The Duke was back, baby! What was considered a white whale or the holy grail of lost games suddenly dropped online, ready for everyone to dive into. Ultimately, though fascinating, it was more tech demo than game.
My glasses. I can't be seen without my glasses.
Buggy, incomplete, yet undeniably amazing. Fans have praised the 2001 build for its ambitious storytelling, darker tone, and classic shooter gameplay reminiscent of the franchise's glory days that was instead thrown out for the cartoonishly garish and sometimes painfully boring game we eventually got. It didn't take long before a group of dedicated modders banded together under the studio name Mighty Foot Productions and launched the Duke Nukem Forever 2001 Restoration Project. Their goal? To transform this fragmented alpha into a polished, playable experience fans envisioned based on publicly available information, documentation, and recovered assets. As of this video, Mighty Boot has delivered an impressive vertical slice covering the initial missions and functional multiplayer. Still, the project faces numerous challenges like incomplete documentation, outdated engine tech, and limited resources, making their progress all the more admirable. If you're curious to experience this version of Duke Nukem Forever yourself, the ModDB link will be down in the description. Keep in mind, these modders are pouring countless unpaid hours into resurrecting a gaming legend from the dead, so hats off to Mighty Foot. And who knows, maybe this time we'll actually get a completed Duke Nukem Forever without it literally taking forever, or at least another 14 years. But while passionate fans carry Duke's legacy forward, it begs a crucial question. Where exactly have Gearbox and Randy Pitchford been all this time? Why hasn't the official studio stepped in to give Duke the future he deserves?
Time for a reboot.
While Duke has been on an extended vacation since 2011, gaming trends have evolved and transformed multiple times, 2 console generations have come and gone, and we've circled back around to the point where classic 90s FPS game design is back in vogue. The same design style that birthed Duke Nukem 3D to begin with has gone on to inspire a whole new generation of what are now a subgenre of FPS games called boomer shooters, developed largely by people who grew up with playing classic FPS games in the 90s. It's a golden age of classic FPS gaming. Colored keys, 9 weapon slots, secret rooms, all of it, without any of the technical limitations of the classics had to work around and take the genre to new heights, and with its own group of classics that stand out from the rest of the crowd. Games like Dusk, A Medieval, Proteus, Iron Fury, Project Warlock, Nightmare Reaper, and the list just keeps going. All of these take design cues from the likes of Duke 3D, Doom, Wolfenstein, Blood, Shadow Warrior, System Shock, and Quake. I mean, these are all great, but none of them let you tip strippers or take a leak mid-gunfight. That's Duke's turf. And this isn't just a niche, we're in a full-blown boomer shooter renaissance here. Even AAA studios are getting in on the action, with Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, and the newly released Doom The Dark Ages leading the charge. These aren't just critically acclaimed, they're profitable. So it's baffling that Duke hasn't been given another shot. Which, again, begs the question, if these games are popular, profitable, and creatively respected, what the hell is stopping Gearbox from bringing back the king of crass one-liners and savior of the babes? A real sequel to Duke 3D and not some stitched-together relic. Well, I might have just answered my own question right there.
I'm gonna put the smack dab on your ass.
Duke Nukem is both the franchise's biggest selling point and its biggest problem. We're living in a gaming era where creative risks are often crushed by corporate fear and cultural overcorrection. Masculine male characters? Toxic. Attractive female designs? Sexist. Custom characters in RPGs? You're lucky to get body type 1 or 2. Unless you're into zipper tits, then go fucking nuts, I guess. What the hell? Oh my god! Studios are paralyzed by the fear of backlash, and instead of trusting their audiences, they chase approval of a handful of online outlets and the terminally online outrage mob that were never going to buy it in the first place. Projects that should have been slam dunks instead get smothered by safe choices and editorial interference, and when they bomb, it's everyone else's fault except the people who made all the decisions. Duke Nukem and his crass one-liners and unapologetic attitude would be a lightning rod in today's media climate. Gearbox and Take-Two probably don't want the headache, and definitely not the headlines. But here's the thing, controversy sells. Games that get dogpiled by the press often thrive anyway. Gamers buy them out of spite, or just for something different, and if the game's good, it blows up. So, what if Gearbox leaned into it? What if Randy and company got some balls of steel and said, screw it, Duke's back, loud, crude, and kicking alien ass in glorious high def? Imagine the trailer for this.
Guess who's back with a brand new game, baby? It's Duke Nukem. Yeah, it's raunchy and crass, and hell yeah, I'm still kicking ass. What are you gonna do about it, pussy? Pre-order now for this exclusive Balls of Steel keychain, unless you're gay.
Is it risky? Sure. But there's no one else in gaming who could pull it off. And in an industry suffocating under sanitized, focus-tested, safe bets, a Duke Nukem comeback could be the exact chaotic energy people didn't know they needed, and maybe help push the industry's Overton window away from preachy, condescending pearl clutchers with septum piercings and blue hair. That is, if Gearbox could wipe off the grease from their desks long enough to make it actually happen. Before we wrap up this video, I just want to take a moment to thank you for making it this far into the video. Videos like this take a lot of work and time for me to make, so please take a moment to like and subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm, and it motivates me to keep making videos like this. Now, back to the finale.
Your face, your ass, what's the difference?
Let's be clear, Gearbox publisher Take-Two holds the coin purse and is definitely a roadblock when it comes to reviving Duke Nukem. But the real reason we haven't seen a proper comeback, that would be Randy Pitchford. See, Gearbox owns Duke Nukem outright. They hold all the keys, and Randy holds all of the decision-making power. If there were ever going to make another Duke game, it would be because Randy greenlit it, and he hasn't. Instead, Duke has sat untouched while Randy gets so mad about mean tweets that he has to cope by hopping on stage with a guitar, playing it horribly, and announcing to a crowd,
I love a good joke. I mean, for fuck's sake, I own the Duke Nukem franchise.
Yeah, like that somehow counts towards support instead of just a punchline he paid for. The thing is, Randy Pitchford is one of the most controversial and inconsistent figures in gaming. For every decent decision, there's a baffling PR disaster. One day he's hyping up a fan-favorite franchise, the next, he's allegedly losing a USB drive full of company secrets and other questionable material in the bathroom of a medieval-themed restaurant.
We're knights of the round table, we dance when we're able, we do routines to call the scenes to footwork in bed cable.
On second thoughts, let's not go to Camelot. It is a silly place.
And the cherry on top? That whole fiasco where Borderlands 3 developers allegedly missed out on royalties while Randy cashed in an alleged $12 million bonus.
Where's my money?
You gonna give me my money? Where's my money, man?
And let's not forget the mountain of lies he spoon-fed us all about the state of Aliens Colonial Marines and allegedly siphoned money meant for that game's development and instead funneled it towards the first Borderlands game and was left pointing the finger when the final game was a complete joke.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
And there's so many more stories like this about Randy, so much so that it could be its own video that just paints a really awful picture of a man as an unscrupulous and greasy individual. It's any wonder he's held his job as the CEO of Gearbox when he's tarnished that studio's reputation so much. You think that kind of leadership is going to roll the dice on a controversial comeback for a character like Duke? Not likely, because Duke requires confidence, risk, and vision, and Pitchford's biggest risk lately has been trying to keep his reputation from collapsing under the weight of his own behavior. So yeah, if Duke's being held hostage, Randy Pitchford is the one holding the keys, and the lock is covered in grease. And how greasy is Randy, you may ask? Well, you could almost say that he's so greasy, he greases the pan by wiping his face and rubbing it into the pan.
This some serious gourmet shit.
He's so greasy, he doesn't need water for a slip and slide. He's so greasy, his reflection slips off the mirror. I mean, the guy's so greasy, I don't even have to animate him. He's just sliding across the frame on his own. He's so greasy, Oh god, I don't think I even have any good jokes for this one. I think the hair just speaks for itself. So, in conclusion, if Gearbox wants Duke to make a real comeback, they'll have to stop fumbling the bag. And maybe let somebody else grab the bag for once. Duke Nukem deserves better. And honestly, so do we. Please like and subscribe, it helps with my depression. But of course, that's up to your discretion.
I've got balls of steel.
Balls of steel, what is that?